You must wash all my clothes and my daughter's clothes and scrub the floor. There is no food and rest for you in this house, or else I will send you to your mother.
Mama, this is too much for me to bear. Papa is never here to help me.
It glowed in the sun, and long, dark hair she braided carefully each morning. Her eyes were soft, full of kindness, and she always smiled, even when life was hard. Amara's mother had died when she was very young, leaving her with her father. Her father loved her, but he was often busy and could not protect her from the harshness of her new stepmother. Her stepmother, Madame Kito, had a heart as hard as dry clay baked in the sun. She loved only her own daughter, Nalia, a girl a little older than Amara. Nalia was lazy and spoiled. She spent her days lying under the mango trees, singing silly songs, and laughing while the sun warmed her face. She never helped with chores, and she never learned how to cook or clean. Amara, however, worked from sunrise to sunset. She woke before the rooster crowed, her small hands already scrubbing the floors. She swept the yard, washed the dishes, fetched water from the well, and carried firewood on her shoulders. Even when her arms ached and her feet were sore, she never complained. She did all this quietly, hoping to make her father happy and to please Madame Kito, even though the stepmother was often cruel. Amara, did you sweep the kitchen again? Madame Kito's voice would boom suddenly, like thunder rolling across the dusty fields. And what about the floors in the living room? Did you scrub them properly? Yes, stepmother, Amara would whisper, bowing her head. Her voice was soft, but steady. And the yard? Madame Kito would shout. The yard is full of leaves. Look at the dust on the pots. If I find a single spot not clean, it will be your fault. Amara would nod, her heart sinking. She worked harder and harder, scrubbing and cleaning until the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange and pink. Only when the moon rose and the village fell silent did she sit down, exhausted, and rest for a few minutes. Meanwhile, Nalia would lie under the mango tree, her little feet swinging in the air. She would laugh at the children passing by and pretend to nap whenever anyone called her name. Madame Kito would smile at her daughter, giving her sweet treats and praising her for doing nothing at all, while Amara labored from dawn to dusk. One day, a loud drum sounded across the village. Messengers ran through the streets, shouting exciting news. The Prince of Zangari is seeking a wife. All young women of the village will be presented at the palace. The prince will choose the maiden with the kindest heart and the bravest spirit. Amara's heart leapt. Could it be? Could the prince see her, the girl who worked so hard and tried to be good even when others were cruel? But Madame Kito's face turned dark. Her lips pressed together, her hands clenched into fists. She looked at Nalia, imagining her daughter in the fine clothes of the palace, chosen by the prince. But she knew, deep down, that the prince's eyes would surely fall on Amara, whose kindness shone brighter than gold. That night, Madame Kito lay awake, thinking and plotting. Her thoughts were dark and twisted. That girl, if the prince sees her, he will not choose Nalia, she whispered to herself. I cannot let that happen. I must stop her, but how? Meanwhile, Amara lay on the thin straw mattress in her small room. She stared at the moonlight that slipped through the small window. Her heart was full of hope and worry. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the prince will notice me, she whispered to herself. She dreamed of the palace, the beautiful gardens, and a life where she would not have to work from sunrise to sunset. But she also worried about her stepmother, who always found ways to make her life hard. Outside, the village slept, the mango trees swaying gently in the warm night breeze. But inside that small house, a storm of worry and secret plotting was brewing. The next morning, everything would change for Amara, though she did not yet know how. The drumbeats of destiny were coming closer. The prince was about to arrive. And Madame Kito's wicked plan was waiting, hidden behind her smile. The morning sun rose slowly over Zangari, casting a golden glow on the dusty village. Birds sang in the trees, and the children ran through the streets, their laughter ringing in the air. But in the small house at the edge of the village, the mood was far from joyful. Madame Kito was already awake, her eyes sharp and calculating. She had spent the night thinking, her mind restless and full of dark ideas. She glanced at her lazy daughter, Nolia, who was still tucked under her blanket, her cheeks glowing in the morning sun. Nolia yawned and stretched, rolling over to avoid the chores waiting in the house. Madame Kito smiled, not with warmth, but with a cold satisfaction. Today is the day, Madame Kito muttered to herself, pacing across the room. The prince will see all the girls of Zangari, and he will choose the one with the kindest heart. And that girl, that Amara, she cannot be chosen. She cannot take Nolia's place. I will make sure of it. She thought carefully, rubbing her hands together. Yes. I will give her a task she cannot refuse. Something far away, something dangerous, something that will keep her out of the way. Her eyes narrowed as she thought of the river, the deep Lunari, which ran fast and wild beyond the village. A place where the waters could carry even the strongest person if they were not careful. Downstairs, Amara had already begun her chores. She carried a basket of firewood to the courtyard, her small feet moving quickly across the dusty floor. She sang softly to herself, trying to keep her spirits up despite the endless work. She hummed a tune her mother used to sing, remembering the warmth of her gentle voice. Madame Kito watched her from the doorway, smiling sweetly, though her heart was filled with darkness. Amara, she called, her voice honey smooth. I need you to fetch water from the river Lunari before you do anything else today. The house must shine for the prince's visit, and we cannot have the pots or the floors dirty when he arrives. Amara's eyes widened. The river Lunari was far, and the waters were strong. But she bowed respectfully. Yes, stepmother. I will go at once, she said softly, picking up the clay pots. She trusted her stepmother, even when Madame Kito's words sometimes felt cold. As Amara walked toward the river, the warm morning wind blowing through her dark braids, Madame Kito whispered to herself, soon, Nolia will be the one the prince chooses. That girl's shining heart will not ruin my plans. Meanwhile, Nolia sat lazily under the mango tree, playing with a strand of her long hair. Do we have to go to the palace today, mother? She asked, her voice whining. Madame Kito shook her head, pretending to be gentle. No, my darling. You can stay here, enjoy the morning. You have nothing to worry about. Your stepsister will take care of everything for the house and the journey. Isn't that kind of her? Nolia smiled, her little chest puffed with pride. She liked it when her mother praised her for doing nothing at all. She had no idea of the dangerous plan that Madame Kito was forming. Far away, the river Lunari ran through the thick grass and twisted trees. Its water sparkled in the sunlight, but its currents were strong and wild. Amara walked carefully along the narrow path, her small hands holding the clay pots tightly. Every step made her heart beat faster, but she told herself, I must be brave. I must not fail. Madame Kito watched from the doorway as her stepdaughter disappeared down the path. Her lips curled into a satisfied smile. Just a little further, she murmured. A little push, and the prince will never see her. And Nolia. My sweet Nolia, will be his bride. Meanwhile, Amara paused for a moment, looking at the sparkling water in the distance. She could hear the birds singing and the gentle rustle of the trees. A small smile crossed her face. Maybe today, good things will happen, she thought. She did not know that danger was closer than she imagined. Madame Kito's plan was ready. She followed quietly behind, hidden by the tall grass. Her heart was cold and her mind sharp. Soon, Amara would be far from the palace, and her shining kindness would not interfere with Madame Kito's ambition. As Amara reached the edge of the river, she dipped her pots into the cool, rushing water. The current tugged at her feet, and she held tightly to the pots, her small fingers trembling. She was careful, but her stepmother was watching, waiting for the right moment. Then, with a sudden, cruel movement, Madame Kito shoved Amara into the water. The girl screamed as the river swallowed her, the current pulling her away from the shore. The clay pots toppled, spinning and splashing, and for a terrifying moment, it seemed the river would not let her go. Madame Kito stood at the edge, watching, her face cold as stone. Soon, Nolia will have the prince. Soon, that girl's kindness will not matter, she whispered. But far downstream, hidden among the reeds, a figure watched carefully. A man with strong hands, a net, and a kind heart. His eyes widened at the sight of Amara struggling in the water. Fate, it seemed, was not yet finished. And so, the river rushed on, carrying a girl with a heart of gold into a moment of danger and a twist of hope that no one, not even Madame Kito, could see coming. Amara tried to grab onto the riverbank, but the mud was slippery and the reeds bent under her weight. The pots she had carried fell from her hands, spinning and breaking in the water. Fear gripped her heart like icy fingers. She had never felt so helpless. I must survive. I must, she thought, thrashing in the water. Her heart pounded, and her breath came in fast, panicked gusts. Every second felt like an hour. The river roared. Madame Kito watched from the edge, her lips pressed tight. Goodbye, girl, she whispered, her eyes cold. The prince will never see you. Nolia will be the one he chooses. But the river had other plans. Hidden among the tall reeds downstream was a man named Bako, a fisherman with hands as strong as tree branches. Without thinking, he dropped his net and ran to the riverbank. Hold on, little one, he shouted. His voice carried over the rushing water. Amara tried to reach him, her tiny hands flailing in the waves. The river was strong, but Bako was stronger. He plunged into the water, his arms cutting through the current like oars in a boat. Every second was filled with danger, but he never hesitated. He reached Amara just as the water threatened to pull her under again. Wrapping one arm around her, he lifted her head above the rushing water. I've got you. Don't be afraid, he shouted. Amara clung to him tightly, her heart pounding, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she gasped. Her body shook from the cold water, and she hugged him tightly, feeling safe for the first time since the push. Slowly, Bako carried her to the riverbank. He laid her down on the soft grass, gently rubbing her arms to warm her. You're safe now, he said softly. The river cannot hurt you anymore. Amara shivered, looking at him with wide, grateful eyes. Why did you help me? She asked. Bako smiled kindly. Because no one should be left in danger when they are innocent. You are brave, little one. The river could not take you because you are strong and good at heart. Amara's lips trembled as she realized how close she had come to the river's deadly embrace. She hugged Bako tightly, feeling hope for the first time in hours. I must go to the palace, she whispered. The prince, he is choosing a bride today. Bako nodded. Then we will go together. I will take you safely. No harm will come to you as long as I am near. For the first time that day, Amara smiled through her tears. The river had been frightening, wild and strong, but kindness had found her. And now, with Bako's help, she had a chance to face the palace, face her stepmother's lies, and show the world her brave heart. The sun shone brighter, the birds chirped louder, and the river's rushing water seemed to calm as if it too knew that Amara's story was far from over. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but Amara's courage was stronger than fear. And somewhere in the distance, Madame Kito's wicked plan had begun to unravel, even if she did not yet know it. "I thought I would never get out of the river," she whispered. "I thought I would drown." Bako shook his head slowly. "You are stronger than you think," he said softly. "The river wanted to test you, but it could not take you because your heart is brave and pure. And now, I will help you reach the palace safely. You will see the prince and tell him the truth." Amara tried to smile, but it faltered. "But, my stepmother, she is wicked. She wants my life, she wants me gone." Her small voice trembled. "And my father, he does not know what she plans. I do not know if I will ever see him again." Bako placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Courage is not the absence of fear," he said, "Amara. Courage is moving forward even when you are afraid. And you are already brave. Your father will see the truth and the prince will too. But first, you must trust me." Amara nodded slowly, the warmth of Bako's words sinking into her heart. She felt a small spark of hope light inside her, tiny but bright. "I trust you," she whispered. Bako helped her to his small hut, a cozy place filled with fishing nets, wooden tools, and the smell of fresh fish drying in the sun. He cleaned her carefully with warm water, dried her hair, and gave her some bread and a bit of sweet milk to eat. Amara's stomach growled. She had not eaten since early morning. "You must eat," Bako said gently. "A strong heart needs a strong body. You will need both for what comes next." Amara chewed the bread slowly, feeling the warmth spread through her body. She looked around at Bako's simple home, wondering at how someone could be so kind to a stranger. "Thank you," she said softly. "You saved my life. I do not know how to repay you." Bako smiled, his eyes twinkling. "You have already repaid me by surviving," he said. "You have been brave when many would have given up. That is more than enough." For a while, they sat quietly. The river's roar could still be heard in the distance, but it no longer seemed frightening. Amara felt safe. She realized that sometimes, help comes when you least expect it, from someone who sees your heart and knows you deserve kindness. After a little while, Bako spoke again. "Now we must prepare," he said. "The palace is not far, but we must travel carefully. Your stepmother does not know what we are planning, and she cannot interfere if we move quickly and quietly." Amara's eyes widened. "The palace, the prince," she whispered. Her heart thumped with both excitement and nervousness. I am not sure I am ready." "You are ready," Bako said firmly. "You are brave, kind, and truthful. That is what matters most. Do not let fear stop you. The prince will see you for who you are, and the truth will come to light." As the afternoon sun climbed high, Bako and Amara set off toward the palace. The path was narrow, winding through fields and small forests. The air smelled of wildflowers and fresh grass, and birds flitted from tree to tree. Amara walked carefully beside Bako, her small hand brushing against his sleeve whenever she felt nervous. Along the way, Bako shared stories of the river and the village, of times when kindness had triumphed over cruelty. Amara listened eagerly, her fear slowly melting with each step. For the first time that day, she began to believe that she could survive this ordeal and show the prince her true heart. But Bako also warned her. "We must be careful. Your stepmother is clever and cunning. She will not give up easily. She may try to stop you from reaching the palace, or she may tell lies to make you look bad. You must speak the truth clearly and calmly. Your honesty is your shield. Amara nodded. I will, she said softly. I will tell the prince the truth, and I will show him who I really am. As they walked, the palace appeared in the distance, tall and shining in the late afternoon sun. Its walls gleamed white, and its gates were carved with the images of lions and eagles. Amara's heart beat faster. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement. Soon, everything would change. Soon, the prince would see her, and the world might finally know the kind heart she had always carried. And somewhere far away, Madame Quito waited, unaware that her plan was already unraveling. She had sent Amara to the river, thinking the girl would be lost forever. But fate, as it often does, had another plan. Amara held her head high, her small hand brushing against Bako's sleeve. She was tired, wet, and frightened, but her heart was strong. She would face the palace. She would speak the truth. And she would not let fear or cruelty stop her. The journey had begun, and for the first time, Amara felt hope blossoming like a flower in her heart. The river had tried to take her, but kindness had found her, and the world was about to see the courage of a gentle girl who refused to be defeated. The palace of Zangari rose high above the village, its white walls shining in the afternoon sun. Amara had never seen anything so beautiful. Her small heart beat fast with a mixture of excitement and fear. She walked carefully beside Bako, her hand brushing against his sleeve for courage. Remember, Bako whispered gently, you must be brave. Speak the truth. No lies, no hiding. Your courage and honesty are stronger than any trick your stepmother may try. Amara nodded, her dark eyes wide. I will, she whispered, though her voice trembled. She felt tiny in the grand palace courtyard, surrounded by other maidens in colorful dresses, their laughter echoing in the tall halls. Some of them whispered and giggled, looking at her simple, damp clothes. But Amara held her head high. She had survived the river, she had faced her fears, and she had Bako by her side. She knew that her heart was pure, and that was worth more than any fancy dress or jewelry. Soon, the prince of Zangari entered the courtyard. He was tall and kind-eyed, with a gentle smile that made the girls all hush as he walked past. His eyes scanned the maidens carefully, as if he could see into their hearts. When they finally rested on Amara, she felt a small flutter in her chest. He did not look at her clothes or her wet hair, he looked at her eyes, and in them he saw courage and truth. The prince approached her. Young lady, he said kindly, what is your name? Amara, your highness, she replied softly, bowing her head. And tell me, the prince asked gently, why have you come here today? Amara took a deep breath. She remembered the river, the cruel push from her stepmother, and the kind hand of Bako who had saved her. I have come to tell the truth, your highness, she said. My stepmother, Madame Quito, tried to harm me. She wanted me to disappear so that her own daughter, Nalia, could marry you instead. She pushed me into the river Lunari, hoping I would never come here. A hush fell over the courtyard. The other maidens gasped. Even some of the palace guards looked shocked. Madame Quito and Nalia, who had followed secretly to see Amara, froze in place. Madame Quito's face turned pale, and Nalia's eyes widened in fear. The prince frowned, his gaze sharp. Is this true? He asked, looking at the stepmother. Madame Quito's lips trembled. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. She tried to look brave, but her eyes betrayed her. Nalia clutched at her mother's hand, her voice shaking. Yes, it is true, Madame Quito finally whispered. I wanted her gone so that Nalia could marry you. I am sorry. The prince looked at Amara again. And you, a child, have survived this cruelty with bravery and honesty, he said softly. Tell me, have you forgiven them? Amara thought for a moment. She had suffered, yes, and her heart ached from the betrayal, but she knew that hatred would not help anyone. I forgive them, Your Highness, she said calmly. But the wrongs must still be punished, so they will not hurt anyone else. The king, who had been listening from his throne at the far end of the courtyard, stood up. His face was stern and powerful. Madam Kito and Nolia, he said, you have confessed your evil deeds. You tried to harm an innocent child to gain wealth and favor. This is not the way of our village. You are hereby banished from Zangari forever. You will leave and never return. Madam Kito and Nolia fell to their knees, begging and pleading, but the king's decision was final. Guards led them away, and the crowd watched silently as the wicked stepmother and her lazy daughter disappeared from the village, never to cause harm again. Amara's heart swelled with relief and a quiet happiness. She had survived the river, faced her fears, and told the truth. And now justice had been done. The palace gardens seemed brighter, the flowers more colorful, and the birds' songs sweeter than before. The prince stepped forward, smiling kindly at Amara. Your courage, honesty, and kindness have shown me the heart of a true princess, he said. Amara, will you marry me? Amara's eyes filled with tears, not of fear this time, but of joy. She nodded, the radiant smile spreading across her face. Yes, Your Highness, she said softly. The palace erupted with celebration. Musicians played drums and flutes, children danced, and villagers cheered. Amara's father arrived soon after, tears streaming down his face as he embraced his brave daughter. I am so proud of you, Amara, he whispered. You have shown more courage than anyone I know. That night, as the sun set and painted the sky in pink and gold, Amara lay in her new room in the palace. She thought about the river, about Bako, and about the journey that had brought her here. The world had seemed so cruel that morning, but now it felt full of hope, kindness, and justice. And somewhere far away, the river Lunari flowed gently, its waters sparkling under the moonlight. It whispered a quiet song of truth, bravery, and the knowledge that goodness, even when tested, will always prevail. Amara's heart was full. She had faced danger, survived cruelty, and embraced the power of honesty and courage. And soon, with the prince by her side, she would bring joy and kindness to the village of Zangari forever.